Welcome to another Whiskey, Games, and Nerd Stuff. Today's whiskey is we're enjoying Blanton's, which is always a great whiskey. Let's go ahead and take a sip. I just love how this tastes. And today's Nerd Stuff is we're going to go ahead and talk about Ultimate Spider-Man number 6. For those that have watched these others in the series that I've done, I tend to do these a few months after the fact. Part of that is then I don't have to worry so much about spoilers. But I am going to go ahead and start doing these a little sooner, a little more regular, and be maybe just 1 or 2 months behind instead of several months behind. And after this particular episode, I will be doing a synopsis of all 6 combined into one. But let's go ahead and discuss this. But first, let's take another sip of this great whiskey. First, I got to say, I love the cover. I always like the covers where the superhero's uniform is all torn up. I think it's really cool. And then, as I always do, I'll go ahead and read through the first part of this. And for those that are not aware, this is just kind of the synopsis of what's been going on for the last 5 months. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 5 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter, that same radioactive spider, along with a Picotech suit and warnings of the Maker's Council. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the spider bite to fight crime alongside a masked vigilante called the Green Goblin, Harry Osborn, co-CEO of Oscorp. They fight meeting an assassin hired by Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of New York and a subordinate of the Maker's Council. Fisk is also the owner of the Daily Bugle, Peter's boss. But so far, Peter has managed to keep his second life a secret from everyone, well, except his daughter May. So let's go ahead and see what we have in here. So, for those who have not read these particular comics, yes, Peter Parker is married to Mary Jane, and they have 2 children. So this is where they're kind of talking at dinner, and May, his daughter, asks what happened, and he's got these bruises on his face. So they start talking about them, and Peter says, "Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. I just was clumsy." And then what's kind of cool is May, who like a kid would be like, Dad, you got hurt being, and then she kind of let the cat out of the bag. So obviously, she's sad. MJ knows something. His son knows something. So then he kind of goes on to talk about what happened. Well, so they kind of have the beginning in here where you've got the Green Goblin and Spider-Man kind of talking about going into the building. They kind of talk about code names. They end up saying that he likes Green Goblin, but he wasn't going to let anybody else name him. I kind of like the banter, the talk back and forth. And then what happens is they go ahead and storm into Kingpin's office. And basically he just kind of stands there like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" So he's talking about how he's not surprised. And then what's kind of cool is, he said something that you would think would be obvious, especially in this universe, is something you want to keep in mind for the future. Manhattan is mine, and every camera in a 3-block radius feeds into this building. So he's basically giving you a warning of, hey, I'm kind of watching everything. And then right here is the first time in the series that I'm getting the sense, no pun intended, that he's got the spider sense. So he's saying, wait, something's going on. And they kind of have that little signification that all the different artists will do about the spider sense. I will have to go back and reread the issues. But as far as I can remember, this is the first time that I recall them getting into the spider sense on this. Let's go ahead and take another sip. So he kind of gets into a fight. They're fighting back and forth. He kind of talks about how he's enhanced. Again, they got into a good fight. Kingpin's kind of holding his own against both of them. Green Goblin throws one of his bombs. And then you can kind of tell they've got a good knockdown, drag-out fight. Now, I don't know how strong and what enhancements he has in this particular issue, but check this out with the tattoos and whatnot that he has. I have a feeling that something like this will come into play. I do really like the color that's going on, but you can kind of tell he is getting wailed on. So they find a way to escape, and then he says they're out of here, and then it's almost like you kind of have a little grin from Kingpin, like he enjoyed that, which, I'm not surprised with his character. So then what happens is you kind of go into them talking about, he's telling the story. Obviously, his son's worried. They've got questions. He's got these bruises on his face. They send the kids to bed. And you can kind of tell. At first, I thought that May was going to be running away crying, but obviously, everybody cares about Peter. They want to make sure he's okay. And everybody's not shocked like you would think, but I do like how his son's just kind of, hey, be careful, Dad, kind of a thing. And then I really like this next panel where they kind of walk into, and Peter's like, so he's, keep in mind, his wife just found out that he's been battling villains and he's a superhero, and he kind of walks in with a shoulder shrug, like, almost like he left the toilet seat up, or he forgot the anniversary or something. So I kind of thought that was amusing. And then, of course, he kind of gets into, she's basically saying, hey, I'm proud of you. I am scared. I am proud. And they kind of talk about the costume, and puts it on. And she's like, hey, I want to see what you can do. And then it goes into, there's two things in here. First, there was the whole, this is cool, because they were coming up with his code name. And he's like, what's my code name going to be? And she's like, well, hey, isn't it obvious? It's Spider-Man. Then after that excitement of him being called Spider-Man that wore off, here was my thought. Earlier, when they break into Kingpin's office, he makes a point of saying, hey, I've got all these cameras in a 3-block radius of this building feeding into him. I own Manhattan. Now you've got Spider-Man, Peter Parker, swinging around Manhattan with his wife on his back. I can't help but feel this is going to come back to bite them somehow. This has to come into play. And I really enjoyed this particular issue. So other than the quick fight in there with Kingpin, there wasn't too much going on. But I do see a lot of layers that are becoming in here. I see more of the layers of the relationship between Harry, where they kind of hint at some of the darkness that he's going to have, and the ends justifying the means comment that he kind of alludes to in here. I see where, Peter talking about how he hasn't broken any laws. Kingpin knows something's going on. There is a dialogue back and forth. Peter is being the smart-ass Spider-Man that he is, that we all know and love. Let's go ahead and take a sip. I just love how this tastes. And I have to imagine that he's also recorded the events in the office to go back and play. Well, Peter works for the Daily Bugle, which, Wilson Fisk owns. So at some point, they're going to have a situation where they talk to each other. And you have to imagine with somebody like Kingpin, who is very intelligent, who, makes plans, he's going to have to put, 2 and 2 together at some point. And I do still feel like they're building up to something horrible to happen to Peter. I don't know how dark they're going to go with it. I don't know how they're going to play it. But I will be shocked if something doesn't happen to MJ or one of the kids and we have some repercussions from that. I don't know how it's going to happen or when, but it is going to be interesting to see if they go that route. And I don't know if they will or not. And quite frankly, I don't know if I want them to go that route. But just the fact that they could keeps me in some suspense. I would love to know what your thoughts are on issue 6. And then what you've liked up through the first 6 issues of this. Some things that you've liked and things that you haven't liked. But also love to find and get some comments from the people who enjoy Blanton's. This is such an amazing whiskey. I like to drink this just now and then. It's not my usual nightcap, but it's definitely something that I will have when I just kind of want something really good. I do appreciate everybody watching the video. Please like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I will be doing issue 7 here in about a week, and we will be doing a summary of the first 6 issues. Until next time, folks, cheers.